Well, we'll get going then. We'll go into the next screen right here. So my name is Jim Crawley. I'm the Director of Global Recruitment at Hope College, and we are a small private Christian liberal arts school located in West Michigan in the town of Holland. We'll tell you more about Hope in just a minute, but I also want to have my colleague introduce himself as well.
I'm Tim Schoonveld. I'm the Director of Athletics here at Hope College. It's my 12th year here, and glad to be with you, and thanks for joining us.
Great. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about Hope. Let's look at location and a little bit of the things about Hope for about the first part of the presentation. Then we'll get into some talking about athletics specifically and your questions as well. So you see from the U.S. map here, we are located in West Michigan, where the black circle is. We're in the town of Holland, but we're about 45 minutes west of the city of Grand Rapids, which is the second largest city in Michigan. And a quick 3-hour train ride to Chicago. So we're kind of in that small town, the comfort of a small town, but we're close to a mid-sized city being Grand Rapids, and then also not too far away from the city of Chicago as well. So gives us a great location to live and to go to school. There gives you a close-up of the Michigan map. So you see we're not very far. I mean, I don't know where everybody is in Canada, right? But we're not very far, especially if you're in the province of Ontario. We're particularly close. I've driven to Toronto myself quite a few times. This shows you a picture of downtown Holland, just a little bit. It's a 4-block downtown. So again, it's a small town of about 34,000. And our campus is about 3,000 students. We're just a few miles from Lake Michigan, so it's a very beautiful location. It's a tourist town, so it's very safe, very clean. We are literally right next to downtown, so students will walk back and forth all the time to cafes, restaurants, shopping. We also run a shuttle bus out to some of the more maybe affordable shopping areas. We do that every week. And then, of course, you see the shore of Lake Michigan there. It's the longest stretch of freshwater beach in the world. And so it's beautiful out there. So why Hope College? Why do students look at us? We are a very welcoming community. We welcome students from almost all the states and over 20, close to 25 different countries. Students are coming in for a combination of things. I think they're coming in because it is a high level of academics. Our average freshman coming in has a 3.8 out of 4 average. We do get a range. You certainly don't have to have a 3.8 to get in, and that just happens to be the type of caliber of student that we attract. And students there are amazing opportunities here. Students are very active in our campus. So we have student athletes that are in the fine arts, that are in choir or band or something because they enjoy doing that. We have students in the sciences that are also in athletics. They're also in fine arts. I mean, so students are across the curriculum doing things that they truly enjoy doing. It's all part of their kind of their pathway at Hope, or their journey. I like to call them journeys. So you've got academic journey, a personal journey, a spiritual journey. You've got whatever journeys you have. You've got the opportunity to do some great things at Hope College. We also have very caring professors. Professors are very involved in the students' academic journey, and even getting involved in sometimes in some of the other activities. You see faculty and staff at athletic events. You see them at fine arts events. You see them at cultural events. They really do care about the students, and they want to be involved with the students in their experience here at Hope. Individualized attention, 11-to-1 student-teacher ratio. So you're going to really get to know your professors, and you're going to be able to get that attention, get that advising that's needed to really be successful as you move on through your academic journey at Hope. We are a Christian college. It doesn't mean that you have to be Christian to come to Hope. Majority of our students are, but there are certainly a lot of other faiths represented, and we also have some students who really aren't sure where they're at with their faith journey, and that's okay too. We want students who want to feel comfortable here, that want a high level of academics, and in this case possibly some athletic opportunities as well if they have that level of talent. As I mentioned, 11-to-1 student-teacher ratio. So those small class sizes mean you've got the close collaboration with faculty, and they get to know you. So this is especially helpful when you're getting into the time of trying to do internships, trying to look at jobs, summer jobs or jobs after graduation, because the faculty get to know your strengths and they can make recommendations to you both on how to prepare for those opportunities, but also what possible, companies or graduate schools are there that seem to match well with your talents and your strengths. Hope is very well known for its research. So we're one of the best, most well-funded schools of our size for undergraduate research. So students in engineering, in biomedical sciences, the biologies, the chemistries, the neuroscience, all of those areas are getting some great opportunities for research and for internships because of the funding we receive, the grants we receive, and also the connections we have with corporations and businesses. I did mention engineering, and we do have multiple specializations in engineering. We are an ABET accredited engineering program. So you're getting a very top quality program where you'll be able to really do some fantastic research in the labs and also have connections with some great companies. We have a lot of multinational companies in the West Michigan area and in Michigan in general that our students are able to make connections with. Many of those companies do interview on campus, so students have the opportunity to interview for internships, summer jobs, full-time positions upon graduation. So going along with some of those amazing opportunities, here's just a few snapshots of, the top left shows students. We have a May term. So we have our regular semesters of September or the end of August till December, January to April. Then we have a May term. May term is not required, but many students will do a May term. And about half of the May terms typically are travel. Now they may be travel within the US or they may be travel international, but you're actually taking a class and you're actually going to a location to learn actively. And maybe when Tim gets back, when he comes on a little bit later, he might be able to tell a little bit about some what the athletics do occasionally with international travel too. But this is an international trip up in the upper left, sorry. And then the upper right shows one of our students who was actually doing an internship at the World Health Organization. She's probably happy she's not there right now because it's a pretty crazy time to be there right now. The bottom left is a business class that went to New York, and they are at the New York Stock Exchange. And if you see that gentleman in the bottom left next to the woman in red, he is a Hope College alum, and at that time was working on the New York Stock Exchange. He is actually now the Hope College president. So he comes to us with a business background and is doing very, very well in his going into his now in his second year at Hope. And then the bottom right is a young woman who is waiting to interview for either an internship or a job. So there's lots of opportunities for our students to advance and to look toward their the next step in their path. So we do have beautiful high-tech facilities. In one of the first screens, you saw some of the oldest buildings on campus. We are well over 130, I have to do my math real quick, well over 130 years old, but we have a full array of really brand new high-tech facilities as well. And we're very conscious of what students need to be successful, and we want them to have those facilities available, those opportunities available to be on state-of-the-art equipment. We just got a grant this past summer and bought a new mass spectrometer. So students are really able to do some fantastic research that at some schools is really not available till you're in graduate school. So we want to open up those opportunities for our students. So I did mention they're a Christian college. It's important to mention that because it is part of Hope. But again, all students are welcome, and we do have many different faiths represented at Hope College. We do run 3 20-minute student-run chapel services on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They are not required. But as you can see from that photo at the bottom, the chapel is packed. 900 plus students will go to chapel. And just because they want to, and again, they're coming from all faiths and all backgrounds. But again, it's a voluntary activity. But I know of students who are very active and they do go to chapel quite frequently. They may go to chapel or to mass on Sundays as well. And I know other students who probably have never, well, actually I know some who've never stepped foot in the chapel the whole time they've been at Hope College. So that's something you need to decide what role that plays in your life. But this is certainly available and at Hope College if this is something that you want to be involved in. So I think what we'll do is mix in a couple of questions here. I'm going to have Tim come on, and let's, while we're looking at facilities, let's ask a few questions about athletics, and then we'll kind of continue to move through these screens. Tim, one thing, I think that the students hear about, D1 and Division II schools all the time. They're the ones they hear about. They're the ones they see on TV. You don't really see Division III schools so much. So can you talk a little bit about the athletic caliber of our student athletes and the type of athletes that come to Division III schools?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I mean, I think there's all types of, athletes and student athletes that come to Division III schools. One of the things, we pride ourselves in kind of competitive excellence as one of the pillars of our program. And, I think what that really means is our coaches are actually competing with small Division I and Division II schools for recruits. And so for us to be able to compete at a national level, which is really our goal for our programs, that's what we have to do. And so we've got to be, providing alternatives for students that they want to do it. And so, I had a student in my office this week that said, hey, I had a bunch of offers to D1 schools. I didn't want them to kind of own me or control every aspect of my life, but I did want to compete at a high level. And I wanted to have a chance to win a national championship. And so that's why I came to Hope. And so I think there's definitely opportunities out there. I think the interesting piece, for us is being a Division III and focused on, other opportunities besides just athletics, allows them to be engaged in the entire, campus life and all that's going on while still competing for national championships and attaining, high level athletics. And so that's really what our goal is. And obviously our best teams are doing pretty well at recruiting at that high level. And it shows, I think, in the performance, by our teams.
Great, thank you. So I appreciate that, Tim. So now, obviously, we're Division III, so there's no athletic scholarships permitted. I'll talk a little bit later about what academic scholarships that I can offer from the admission side. But in terms of these teams, I know that we've got some extremely competitive teams for, to even make the team. So students often hear about, being able to walk on a team, or maybe that there could be tryouts, or maybe there's not tryouts. Do you find with our teams, are walk-ons possible, and or do they really have tryouts, or does that depend on the team?
Yeah, well, I think one of the beauties of Hope is, we feel like it's a place that will transform students' lives. And so when they come in as a freshman, they're going to walk out of here as a noticeably different person in better ways when they walk across the stage. The tongue in cheek a little bit, I would say, yeah, like there's definitely walk-ons if you can play. And if you're a really, a good player. I think, sometimes there's this understanding that, hey, if I go to Division III, I'm just going to go there and I just want to do it. And it's kind of like a recreational, almost an intramural type of a thing. And that would not be the case. We do have some sports, things like track and field, even like swimming and diving, cross country, football on some level, where we don't generally make cuts. Although, with the sizes and with what our coaches are trying to do, there's some standards that have to be met, in terms of times and things like that. Otherwise, it's not going to be possible to be on the team. Most of our other teams, in basketball, volleyball, and we're running some JV teams, so we've got a little bit more opportunity for a JV participation if somebody wants to come, and then we do always have a couple of JV kids that wind up making the varsity at some level. But for the most part, it's a high level, and we believe really fully in the power of the and, right? And so we're going to try to win, and we're not really kind of being apologetic for that. And we're going to transform students' lives. And that's really what our goal is to provide transformation. And then sport is really just a piece of that transformation, along with academics, the spiritual, the staff, other students that that can kind of impact their life for years to come.
Thanks, Tim. And you've actually prompted a number of shoot-off questions from that that have popped into my mind. So you talked this very last thing you talked about a little bit about support, I think. So can you kind of address, obviously, athletes, student athletes have this whole other sense of kind of obligation or commitment because of their sport that a typical academic, if somebody straight in academics, doesn't necessarily have. Now they may have, somebody else may have music or theater, so they might have another obligation as well. But I think athletes, between the practice time and the competitions and traveling, there's a lot of time wrapped up in that. So what kind of academic support or other type of support do we provide to our athletes, student athletes?
Yeah, I mean, as a Division III institution, like our support for student athletes would be very, very similar to what is offered to the general student population. So there's a writing center for all our students. There's an academic success center that works on time management and study skills and helps with tutoring, those types of things. I think, again, we found that generally our student athletes do better when they're in season. So actually when they have a kind of a rigid schedule and regimented and that type of a stuff. So we feel like, academics are a real positive in that regard. But I think, I just watched our offense and defensive coordinator from our football team. Midterms came out a week and a half ago, and they, over the course of the next week and a half, they meet with every player on their side of the ball, and they talk through their midterms and how are you doing and what's going on. And it leads to conversations about, hey, do you need to go to counseling? Do you need to get a tutor? What other things are going on in life? And so I think that's like in my opinion, that's the beauty and a piece of the transformation that can happen at Hope, is that, hey, our coaches they want to win, and they're trying to plan and game plan and do all that kind of stuff, but they're actually saying, hey, I'm here to help you succeed and to be transformed, and we're going to do that. And that's the whole piece. That's not just the competition on the field, in the pool, those types of things. It's really the whole person. And that's, I think, the beauty of Hope. And I'm only really talking about our coaches, but I think I see that every day with our professors. We also have a teacher coach model. So the majority of our head coaches are also professors. And so they clearly understand what's going on. I think we have 8 PhD head coaches. And so they understand the draw, how difficult it is. And they're working through that and making sure that they understand with our student athletes. So I think all of that together really helps to continue to impact, the lives of our students.
Definitely. And I think those student services are something that are really very evident on campus. It's very obvious. We try to make sure students know about them, whether they're athletes or not. All students know about the support services, writing center, advising sessions, anything that would be helpful to them. It does take a little bit of initiative on the students' part to make sure that they're, taking advantage of them. But I think we definitely do a great job of making sure that they're aware of them. And I know, like for soccer, I'm just picking on soccer. So I know that it's a highly competitive to make, or it seems to be highly competitive to make the soccer team. And I know that coach, really is talking to athletes very early in the process, like sophomore, junior year or something. He's really got his recruits in mind. He knows who he wants. So, and that's great. It does cause that extra level of competition and earlier preparation. So what's the best way of a student trying to make a coach aware of their abilities? That's the first part of the question. The second part, should that contact come from the student or from the high school coach or the club coach?
I mean, I wish probably there'd be a one size fits all. I mean, all of our coaches are a little bit different. So you referenced soccer. So our men's soccer coach, he just wants to see the student play. So that might be either a video or come to one of our prospect camps or, share, hey, here's when my club team is playing. And then he would come out and watch that. And then he would watch and be pretty honest and say, hey, yeah, you're somebody that we were interested in and will pursue. Or he might say, hey, your level is not probably up to like what would help our team. But hope is a place that is really going to be great for you. And so those are the things on our website, at hope.edu, athletics / athletics. There's a recruiting tab that you can click on and fill out information. That's probably the best information you can do to get yourself in the system. That will also get alerted to the coaches and then also to the admissions office. So that's one of the most helpful things. But also if there's film, if there's connection that you can get out to those coaches. I think personally at Hope, I think like there's recruiting services that people are maybe paying for, that send out a blanket email to 50 colleges or universities or whatever. That's not overly helpful for us at Hope. We like to be a lot more personal. So I think like an individual reach out from a coach or from an athlete is also very helpful. And I think an individual reach out from an athlete is probably more helpful than a reach out from a parent. And because I think that, again, just shows initiative and things like that. And so, yeah, I think all of those are ways to kind of get in the system and to help. I'd encourage people to check out our website, check out, who we've played, how our teams have done. Obviously, some teams have competed at a higher level, national level. Some teams are just competing at the league level. There's a variety of things, and then that changes. Some of our programs are a little bit newer. So like our women's lacrosse team is just kind of getting ramped up and running, whereas our women's basketball team has been kind of a national powerhouse for a number of years. And so all of that kind of plays into sort of the coach's ability to connect, the coach's desire to want. It gives you an idea of, hey, who you can play. A lot of times you can also get some reference by watching. There's generally film available of most of our teams somewhere online that you could watch, and that would give people an idea of the level of play also, to be able to see how where they would fit.
Great. And speaking kind of that, the video and the film, the other thing I thought of too is, I know for like those students that are in more of an individual or a timed or a distance type sport, we also have kind of best times out there too, right? So they can kind of see and kind of compare, maybe not obviously, but I think it shows a full range of times too. So they can kind of see where they fit, right? A little bit.
Absolutely. So like swimming would be the case. Swimming is basically like really time based. And so, you can go online and check out what's happened at our league meet. And that would give you an idea of where you would fall in that. And then also to be able to look at some of our our records and things like that. And then that gives a really good idea. I can say this, and I think it's fair. If your times are comparable to what's going on, definitely you should be reaching out, our coaches, and hopefully our coaches are reaching out to you, because I think, you're going to be able to come in and help. And I think we're just really convinced, not in a boastful way or whatever, that, if you can come on campus, this is a place that really can transform your life, for the rest of your life. And that's really what we're striving for, even as we try to, win competitions.
So I think that also kind of emphasizes the fact that the first part of the conversation emphasized the fact that with an individual sport, I think it's a little bit easier to show where you're at, because you've got a time or a distance or something that you can, show stats for. Whereas in a team sport, that video comes into play a lot more, because that's where you're able to, you can't show stats as much anyway. You can on a team, but not the same type of stats, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, just to be really transparent, a video that's spliced together that shows every good play that somebody has done is not as helpful as a video of like, hey, here's a game where I competed really well, and you see the whole game, and so you see the positives and maybe the areas where you struggled and how you responded to that and those types of things. So from our coach's standpoint, I think that's a little more helpful than the highlight clips of the whole year. So yeah, but yeah, definitely.
Super. Thank you. And so I've been flipping through some photos kind of as we've been talking, just show you some of our facilities at Hope. What I also want to do is make sure we talk about admissions and then try to flip over real quick to see if there's any questions before we kind of end our presentation. But much like some of the other schools you've seen, we do obviously have an online application through our website. So it's online, our own application or the Common App. They're both linked in our Apply Now button on our website. Part of the application is a personal statement, which I think for us is pretty important. We want to make sure you've done your research and that we know why you want to come to Hope and why you want to study what you want to study. Obviously, your secondary school transcript. If you do have any university work, we would need a copy, an official university transcript. Letter of recommendations are very often sent, and we do value those, but they are optional, as well as is the SAT. You'll find that most U.S. schools are going to require you to show verification of financial support as part of the initial admission process. I do it slightly different at Hope, whereby I'm going to review your file, tell you whether you're admitted, tell you what kind of scholarship we can offer. Then you need to show the balance of the support before I kind of do the final paperwork. But I'm going to tell you about admission before, before you have to show financial support. If you submit it at the beginning, that's fine. It's a very holistic approach. We're looking at everything. And just to give you an idea of where we're at, we're approximately, if you take all the costs included, including health insurance, we're going to be at about 52,000 US, which is about 69,000 Canadian. And that includes everything except for your travel and personal expenses. And then international scholarships right now go up to 25,000 or up to 33. So we're covering almost half of the total cost potentially in an international student scholarship. These are merit-based, although I do look at all the aspects of the application when making the award, but the primary consideration is academics. There is my information, just so you've got it. Email crawley@hope.edu, and then our website is www.hope.edu. You can Google search Hope College and all kinds of websites will come up, all kinds of links to our website. And then also have some great videos on YouTube as well. So we encourage you to check that out. What I'm going to do is we're going to go off sharing if I can find there it is. Sorry, stop share. So I want to look at questions real quick to see. So admission fees, we had a question about that in the chat box, and feel free to put any questions in the chat box. And then we'll just kind of wrap this up in the next few minutes.
Jim, there's a lot of questions coming in on our social media, but I'm going to help facilitate some of that after you're done answering.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. We're ready for questions, so go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one thing is, you touched on engineering, which is amazing, and one of my authors here who writes for us, her student actually got into Hope last year, I believe, and she chose Hope over an Ivy League school. And the reason being is the small knit community, and of course she's from Toronto and Michigan, not too far from where we are here in Ontario, but the athletics is stellar as well. So both athletics and academics, Hope College is well known for. And on that end, what would you give? What kind of advice or pitch would you give to students who are stellar, who have 4.0 GPA, who are an amazing athlete? On joining Hope as opposed to maybe a big university or college?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's one we get often, just as Tim mentioned, he's had students come in and talked about, having been admitted or gotten scholarship from a D1 school. And it's the same thing with academics. We have students all the time where we cross apps or have students that, they get admitted to other, maybe schools that have bigger names than that we do, or they have, like an Ivy League or a really big school. And I think, for us to say, we can't really say, well, we're better, because it's not our decision as to who's better or worse. It's all about the match. The student needs to feel like this is the place and be very successful, and success is up to that student. In other words, if there's an academic success, being able to be involved and have opportunities, have the 11-to-1 student-teacher ratio, and the ability to really work with the faculty. But it's also like on the athletic side that Tim talked about, it's the ability to maybe play for a championship team. and teams that really have a good standing in the Division III world, and that provide very supportive service by the nature of Hope College and how it operates and why it's been so successful is because of the nurturing atmosphere and the empowering atmosphere and the ability to encourage the students to move forward with their goals and their dreams and move forward on that hope pathway. I don't know, Tim, have you had, I mean, you gave the example of Division I scholarships. Have you run into kids that also have been kind of making that decision between Hope and the University of Michigan, or Hope and a bigger name school like that? Any other kind of story you want to share about that?
Yeah, I think we have students that make that choice a lot. We're generally not drawing athletes who are also looking at like a Big Ten school or something like that, but we are drawing some athletes that could go to like mid-majors and things like that. I think, we say like 3 pillars for us, right? So we'd say academic success and competitive excellence. And actually, if you go around and talk to like any school in the nation, that's probably what they're saying, right? They want their students to compete academically, do really well. They want them to, win games, right? That's what everybody's trying to do. I think what differentiates Hope is, I think, the transformational experiences. I think the engagement from the coaches and faculty and staff. I think, just being on campus, it's a safe campus. It's a great community. There's a great downtown. We're right by the lake. You're close, you're within 3 hours of large cities, Detroit and Chicago, if you want to do something like that. Grand Rapids, is full of a lot of opportunities. And so I think you package all that together, and we feel like that's what, separates, us in some of those conversations. And hopefully, if you're interested, just to come get on campus and sort of experience that for yourself. And that's where we've found, a lot of people have just kind of fallen in love with what we're trying to do here. I think, first thing I'd say is I'm sorry, because it's miserable for all of us. And it's just, it's just not fun and all of that. It's one of the interesting things that we're having with our coaching staff is they're having to figure out like new and unique ways to like recruit, right? Because you can't go to very many events, and there aren't as many events and those types of things. I think the biggest things, reaching out and getting connected with coaches is a huge thing for us. I think if you have any type of film opportunity that you have even already in place, that being sent is helpful. And then certainly I know, there's a lot of club and travel type teams that are actually still doing stuff. And so like our coaches on a limited basis are still going out and recruiting, distanced and masked and that type of stuff, but they're doing a lot of recruiting and watching students, because really in the end they recognize, that's kind of their job. And so they've got to figure out how to do that. So I think really those 3, kind of areas would be, reach out, make sure if you have some film, send that to the coaches. And then I think the third one is if you're actually playing or getting out there, we're even having some of our coaches are going and watching some practice sessions or just some workouts that students are doing. So, they're still out there trying to do it. So we want you, we need students, and we want students who want to have their life impacted.
Tim, I know we had some impact obviously on football, and that we did not have a football season this year, but what is the prediction? I know it's kind of hard to say really, but for the upcoming sports, which ones are playing now and which ones are we at this point hoping still will be able to have a season for winter?
Yeah, I mean, so no fall athletics, although we did do practice on campus in limited fashion. So like our football team really hasn't tackled or done anything like that, but they have been practicing, trying to get some of the social and then putting in scheme and things like that. The plan right now is that we're gonna play winter and spring sports, and then we're actually gonna have a fall. Like our fall teams will also be competing in the spring. So we'll potentially from about Thanksgiving to into May, we could have all of our sports participating. So that's really the plan right now. And we're working on that. We're working on scheduling. It's just really hard because it can change, daily or weekly. So you know, we're working through that, and there'll be obviously opportunities if we're playing for live stream for student athletes or prospective student athletes that may be interested in watching and being a part of that.